Welcome to the Unfiltered Tea with Evie podcast, where personal brands and service providers come for honest, anti-sleaze marketing advice that actually works. I'm Evie Tavares, founder of Evie Tavares Branding, and if you're tired of manipulative tactics, sleazy marketing strategies, and feeling like you're the only one who doesn't have your business all together, you're in the right place. On this podcast, we're diving into copywriting, personal branding strategy, business mindset, and balancing business with kids and real life. I'll be bringing in some epic guests, including business experts, to share their insights and real experiences in life and business. You can expect real life stories, tactical tips, and the occasional spicy Evie moment, all served up with your morning cup of tea. So grab your tea, get cozy, and let's get into it. I just wrapped up another incredible guest interview with somebody who I really admire. She's a good friend of mine. We're from the same city here. She's also somebody who has an incredible and uplifting story, not only in her business journey, but also in her health journey. So I know that this is going to be another episode that you're going to love. So without further ado, our next guest is Mia Harris, owner and head coach of The Strength Girl. She graduated from the University of Guelph-Humber with a degree in kinesiology and a diploma in health and fitness promotion. She's also a certified personal trainer through the Canadian Society for Exercise Physiology and obtained her most recent certification in the Mindset Coaching Certification Level 1. She helps high-achieving, ambitious women ditch the scale and weight loss obsession by learning how to fall in love with lifting weights while also taking care of your mind, body, and soul. She strongly believes that it is so much more empowering to focus on becoming your strongest self versus your smallest self. So I knew that Mia was going to be an incredible guest, and this is a conversation that you're going to want to definitely tune into. So lean in and enjoy the episode. Welcome back to the Unfiltered Tea with Evie. I am here today with another incredible I am here today. Thank God for editing. I am here today with another incredible guest, Mia Harris, owner and founder of The Strength Girl. Mia, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, me too. I'm super pumped about all the questions I have for you.
Oh, lay it on me. I can't wait.
We're going to dive right in.
Perfect.
So let's just start, first of all. So for people who aren't in your world, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started.
Yeah, so we're going back like 10 years now. I knew that I wanted to get into the fitness space, but I didn't exactly know how. When I was going and applying for universities, I was like, I know that I love science. I know that I love fitness. I know that I love sports. Like, how can I combine all three of these things and ultimately land me in a job where I'm doing essentially all of those things? And that led me to taking kinesiology. And I ended up going to the University of Guelph-Humber. I did my 4-year undergrad, and I graduated with a bachelor's in kinesiology and a diploma in fitness and health promotion. And then while I was in 3rd year of university, this was kind of the time that my friends and I were trying to figure out, okay, do we want to go another avenue after graduating? Do we want to come right out of school and just start working? Like, everyone was trying to figure out which way to go, because for a lot of people, kinesiology is like a stepping stone into something else. Like, most people don't just finish with kin. They either go on to be a physio or a paramedic or something in another field. And it was around that time that I was like really considering about being a business owner and like starting my own business and becoming a personal trainer. And essentially, that's what I did. So I went through, I finished my placements, because in 3rd and 4th year, you have to do placement hours. And I did my first one at a chiro clinic, which was very much focused on like WSIB patients and those that got hurt in the workplace. And I hated it. It was awful. It was very much like people would come in, they know their insurance covers the treatment. So they're just here because they have to be, and they don't really have any will or want to get better. And I was like, this is not the type of population or clientele that I want to work with. So it was a good learning experience. I figured out what I didn't want to do through that placement. And then my second placement, I was actually at a sports therapy clinic, and they did a lot of work with athletes and trying to get them back to returning to their sport after they were injured. And I really enjoyed that. And I loved specifically the in the gym, on the gym floor, working with the client to help them return back to their sport. So when I was at that placement, I was doing a lot of like programming, exercise selection, specific programming towards certain different injuries that they were experiencing, and then helping them get back to return to play. And I really, really liked that. And I was like, okay, like this is something that I could maybe see myself in. So when I graduated, I got my personal training certification, and I just started training like some friends and family members just to get some experience and see if I even liked it. And lo and behold, I loved it, because here we are today, 10 years later, and we're still doing it. But yeah, I pretty much like hit the ground running once I graduated. It was 2017 that I opened up my first brick and mortar business. We had that business for 3 years, and I say we because my parents were very much involved with a lot of the process. And then it was March of 2020 that I decided to close my doors, rebrand, and now I am the strength girl, what you see today. And I'm now the strength girl longer than I was my previous business. It's definitely been a journey, but that's kind of how I got started and where it all came from.
I love that. I love the strength girl. I remember first finding you on Instagram. I'm like, that's really cool. I like that. And then, everything snowballed from there for you and I.
Yes, yes, thank you.
um, yeah. So even with your background and your education and kinesiology and your certifications, obviously those don't teach you how to start a business and market a business. So what did you do to get that started? And like, how did you learn about doing all of that?
Ain't that the truth? I don't think I took one business course in kinesiology. Oh yeah, it was a learning curve for sure. And just to remind you, I was 21 when I first opened my business. I was so young, so naive. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. All I knew was that I was renting a space from one of actually like my brother's football coaches here in Brantford in our hometown. And I was like, okay, I'm paying this much for rent. I'm bringing in this much amount of money. Sure, it's cool. Like I can do this, no problem. So when we went to look at the commercial space, I was like, yep, okay, sure. Like no brainer. Like we're making this much. I can pay the rent. Cool. And then expenses started to come up and things started to happen. And you're like, oh, okay, maybe I don't got this. Like this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So yeah, I really didn't have any business experience at all. My mom and I really were just learning as we went and trying things out and asking like our friends. We have like accountants and financial advisors, so we were asking them for help and support. So I was really just leaning on anyone that I could to try and just figure it out along the way. Like no prior experience, and just kind of dove in head first and was like, well, we're doing this, so let's figure it out.
hmm
Yeah.
And since you mentioned your previous brick and mortar place
hmm
that ultimately ended up being closed, you also have something super exciting opening up, which is another brick and mortar space, but it's different this time. You and I have talked about that it feels different this time. So how do you kind of face that past that you had with that other experience with your brick and mortar and then do it again and take on this place again?
Yeah. So we are opening up, and again, I say we because my partner is very much involved with this with me. We're opening up a space on our property, and this has been in the making for like the last 2.5 years. And ultimately, this has been my dream. If I could have just skipped the whole brick and mortar thing and just went right to this, I would have. But again, I don't think it would have taught me, like, I wouldn't have learned everything that I learned and all the lessons that I had to go through. I wouldn't be in this spot now if I didn't go through that. So as much as like that era of my life was very challenging and very hard, I'm also very grateful for it, but I don't want to revisit it again.
Yeah.
So I think now, like you had mentioned, this feels very different because I know what I don't want to do. And I know that when I first opened my brick and mortar, I was serving anyone. I was doing everything. I didn't really have like a clear, concrete idea of like who I wanted to work with and the types of people I wanted to serve. I was working with everyone because at that point, like, and I don't even like to say it like this, but at that point, like I was really just trying to get a name out there for myself and make money. Like we had rent to pay, we had bills to pay. Like it was so much more of an undertaking than when I was just renting a space and having all this additional income. So I was literally just working with anyone and everyone. And again, it taught me what I didn't want or who I didn't want to necessarily serve. And now I'm a lot more clear on the types of people that I want to work with, the types of services that I offer, and I really enjoy them. So I'm really looking forward to this next chapter and having this space, because for me and with a lot of other clients that I work with, especially women, there tends to be a little bit more fear or intimidation when it comes to walking into a gym space and being surrounded by all these people. And I really just want to create the atmosphere of like, this is a safe and supportive environment where you can come and learn and grow and try and fail and not feel judged or have to feel intimidated by it. So that's naturally just the atmosphere that I want to create, and I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait for everyone to experience it.
Yeah, I'm super excited too. So, what you see a lot in the fitness industry is businesses kind of talk about quick fixes
Mm.
and weight loss and like that kind of messaging because that's typically what sells. So, you kind of do the opposite.
I
You
do.
like to say you are like fully committed as you should be, and this is why I love you and what you do because you are committed to anti-scale messaging, kicking the scale to the curb, that kind of thing. So when did that really start? And did you ever feel like maybe a little hesitant because it might be a little harder to market that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll take it back even to like with my own personal health and fitness journey. I got started in the health and fitness realm by being in the gym with the boys in my high school. There was lifting class, and I was one of the two girls that took that program, and I got to be around all these guys that were, encouraging me and supporting me and being like, yeah, you can do it. It just felt very empowering. And I was like, how can I do more of this? And then unfortunately, I grew up as a competitive athlete. I was playing competitive soccer and I was also a competitive dancer, which required two very different body types. And I was super passionate about dance, and I really did want to go somewhere with it, but it's very hard to do so within that industry. But before recognizing that, I was like, okay, how do I fit the mold of like the dance body standards? Because I was short, I was stocky, I was strong. Like I am a strong, sturdy person, and dancers are very like tall, elegant, lean. And I was like, okay, how do I like look more like that to fit the part? So this is where I like took matters into my own hands, which was my first mistake. And I started running on the treadmill for like 2 hours a day. I was eating 800 to 1,000 calories. I was literally burning my body into the ground just to look a certain way. And, I would weigh myself multiple times a day. And if the scale went up, then I would punish myself with more exercise and less food. Or if the scale went down, I would celebrate a little bit and still go do more exercise. And it just became this unhealthy pattern and cycle that I had a hard time breaking. So that's ultimately where I started and why I kind of went down the path of like, okay, I really don't want to lean into the market of like fat loss or like losing weight because it was such a toxic thing for me at the time. And I had a very unhealthy relationship with food, exercise, and the scale. I was like, I don't really think this is the avenue that I want to go. Now, I will say I tried it. I did try it because when I first started personal training, I was like, okay, well, this is what everyone else is doing. And clearly they're having success within it, but I didn't enjoy it. And that was coming across. Like, I just felt, again, so icky and weird and gross. And like, I just was loathing going into work every day, knowing that this is what I was pursuing. So after I closed that first brick and mortar, I really did change gears. And as you can tell from my name, I really wanted to focus on strength and empowerment and encouragement and encouraging women to step into the gym and take up space and be loud and proud. And that's really what I like to lean into now, because it's like, I think it's so much more empowering to focus on becoming your strongest self versus your smallest. And I'm going to say right here too, like, I'm not against weight loss. I'm not against you trying to become healthier. I'm not against, someone wanting to change their body composition. However, that's just not my main focus within my coaching practice. And if that's something you're solely focused on, then I might not be the coach for you. And that's okay. But I like to say, if you're working out, moving your body, taking care of yourself, instilling better habits, working on your mindset, and being open to growth and personal development, and weight loss happens from that, cool. But it's definitely not going to come from restriction, punishment, or hating yourself. And that's not what we do here. So that's kind of why I went down that road. And yeah, no, from a marketing standpoint, it's not the greatest. It sucks. It's really hard sometimes because that's not necessarily what everyone wants. And I feel like, and you've probably noticed, we've gone through trends where like skinny has been in, and then we went to like being strong and being capable, and now I feel like we're back to the thin is in again, and I'm just like, oh my god,
Mhm.
I can't keep up with this. So
Mhm.
yeah, I try really hard in my messaging just to empower women and encourage them, and we're already made to feel so small in so many areas. It's like, let's continue to take up space and be loud and proud of what our bodies can do.
Yeah. Amen.
Mic drop.
Yeah. So you also market yourself as a personal brand and you're not scared about sharing that roller coaster. Like you mentioned your story, you're very open and honest about that. So whether it's like your health journey or your business journey, you're always vulnerable in that way. And have you seen like an impact from that? How does that kind of translate over for your clients and your audience?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's made a positive impact because I feel like people can relate to me a little bit more and it allows us to create greater connection. When I had my previous brick and mortar, my mom was like, don't share anything about your personal life. Make sure you're not talking about, some of your struggles or what's going on. And I was like, but this just feels so inauthentic. Like, how am I showing up here with a smile on my face when I'm literally like stressed out of my mind and dying inside? Like, it felt so disingenuous and fake. And I was like, okay, I know that if I'm going to start a personal brand, it's going to be centered around more me. And I really just want to show up as like, this is me. Like, this is what you get. And at first, I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit scared that people wouldn't see me as professional. Um,
Mm.
and I was a little bit hesitant on what to share. And so that definitely creeped into my mind. But I've definitely created more connection with people. And people come to me all the time and they're like, wow, like you're so relatable. And I think that's most important when people are coming and looking and searching for someone to work with is like, can I relate to you? Like they can't relate to necessarily the 21-year-old influencer with six pack abs and no kids, right? But unless you're in that stage of life, like then maybe you can. But for a lot of the women that I work with that are, 30 plus, they're just in a different stage of life and we can relate on a lot of different levels and I can actually empathize with them, what they're going through. So yeah, I definitely went from like not wanting to share to oversharing and having no boundaries and being like, God, this is horrible. And then now having more of an idea of like what I want to share and how it could potentially help people or how I can connect to people. Like I don't need to share that I got in a fight with my partner. Like that doesn't need to be aired out. But I can share that like, yeah, I had
Mhm.
a back flare up last week after doing some shoveling and I'm sore and I haven't worked out in the last week and a half. And I had probably like 10 people message me and be like, yep, I'm right there with you. And like, I can relate to this. Send me some of the exercises that you were doing. So
Mhm.
yeah, I try and share now what feels authentic to me and what I feel could help people as well.
Yeah. And I'll even say like my mom took your Learn to Lift program, obviously.
Yes.
So she follows you and she's like, what I love about her is, yeah, she just shows that she's human just like all of us, but
Yep.
being open about that, that like you don't expect perfection from your clients. You also don't expect it from yourself.
Absolutely. Yep. That is like a non-negotiable of mine of like, yeah, I don't expect you to be perfect throughout our time together. What I do expect is for you to be open and honest about what you're going through, where I can support you, communicate with me, and let's work through this together because at the end of the day, I'm on your team. I'm not here trying to root against you. I'm rooting for you. So
Hmm.
the more that you can let me in and the more that you feel comfortable sharing with me, the more that I can support and help you.
Hmm. For
Yeah.
sure. So I love to, when we were on the podcast, on your podcast the other day, we found a lot of parallels and like commonalities between lifting and entrepreneurship. So
Mhm.
we're going to go into a couple of those now.
Sounds good.
Progressive overload
Yep.
is fundamental to strength training,
Yep.
but it's also something that we see in business.
Mhm.
And if there's like similar with lifting, if there's like too quick of progressive overload, it leads to your body burning out. In business, if there's like too quick of a progressive overload, we ourselves burn out. So,
Mhm.
how have you kind of navigated that and made sure that it's something that's sustainable for you?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I've probably hit burnout more times than I can count on one hand. I am a high achiever by nature. I'm very ambitious. I'm very driven. And that oftentimes leads me to taking on way too much and more than my capacity can handle. I'm definitely getting better at it in the sense now of like, I have greater boundaries. I can say no without feeling guilty. And just knowing that, like, if it doesn't align with my goals or values, that it's okay and I don't have to do everything that is being presented to me. I was a yes man for so long. And I was just like, if this doesn't feel great or it doesn't feel good in my body, like, I'm not going to force myself to do it. Because if I do, what I've recognized is I feel that in my body and I start to get that resentment towards it. So it's
Oh.
like, yeah, unless it's a hell yes, it's a frick no. Like, I'm sorry. But yeah, and then I'll apologize for it after. But yeah, like I think just like with progressive overload, there's always a starting point that we're at. And then, yeah, each week we want to try and make small improvements or small increments, depending on what our bodies can handle, right? Progressive overload isn't always just about adding more weight either. It could be refining your form. It could be feeling more confident with the lifts that you're doing. It could be slowing down your tempo. It could be adding more sets. It could be adding more reps. So it's not always just about adding more load to make progress. So I think even too within business, it's like, it's not always about making more money. It's about like, okay, are you having more time and freedom within your business? Are
Mhm.
you happy within your business? Are you creating a better social media strategy? Are you bringing in more of your own ideal clients? So it's not always just about adding more. It's about, okay, what can we do better? What can we add in that's going to benefit us to a greater degree? So I think that is a good parallel that we can kind of relate to.
And another one that I kind of thought of is the concept of trusting the process.
Mm-hmm.
So even when you don't see the immediate results, whether it's fitness or business, how do you stay committed to that vision when things maybe aren't going the way that you expected?
Yeah, that's a great point as well. Again, being in the fitness space for the past 10 years and also being a business owner, what I've really just come to learn is like that long haul mentality is what really is going to give you the greatest amount of success. If you're just doing something and expecting that overnight success, I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're going to be really disappointed because it just doesn't happen like that. And I can remember being 21, opening my business, grinding for like the first 3 years while my friends were going to Bali and buying cars and buying homes. And here I am, like, working my butt off just to pay the rent and have a little bit of extra income for myself. And, there's so many times throughout my entrepreneurial journey that I was like wanting to give up and throw in the towel. And I've even pivoted a little bit. I even went back to working in another brick and mortar store for someone else. And I was like, oh God, no, 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 I hate this. And then that motivated me even more to, make this work and allow myself that financial freedom and flexibility. So yeah, I think to be an entrepreneur, you really just have to be delusional and just believe in yourself because like our dreams are so big and so wide. And it really does take a different kind of person to be an entrepreneur. Like I always
Mhm.
say, like entrepreneurship is not for the weak. It's really hard. And also it's so rewarding at the same time, just like your fitness journey. No one said it was going to be easy, but the steps and the things that you're doing are easy or are simple that they add up to, these big things in the long term.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
love that. I think I heard somebody say recently, like, when you become an entrepreneur, you're like, oh, this is amazing. Like, everybody should do this. But it's so true that it's not for everybody. It is really difficult. And some people are just, they don't need that in their lives or they don't want that in their lives. And that's okay.
yeah. Yeah, there's
But
a
yeah.
lot of like uncertainty that can happen within it. But I think that can also happen within anything, like even having a stable, even corporate job. Like there just is still uncertainty around that, right? Like one day you might just not have a job. But yeah, navigating like even just the economy and what's going on within the world, like there's a lot of things happening right now. And that definitely does have an impact or an effect on our business. Like I can remember even just last January, I went through a little bit of a tough time within my business because, again, the state of the world and the economy. And I was like, oh my God, like, am I gonna have to like burn this down and go back to working for someone else? Because I was getting so many more no's than I was yeses. And like, I'm not a stranger to, rejection, but it was like constant no after no after no. And I think it was like finally like 15 no's to one yes. And I was so excited when that yes came through. It finally just like reignited my confidence again. It definitely, it can play with your mind a little bit and make you feel like you're
Mhm.
not worthy, you're not good enough, and all these negative thoughts coming through. But it just takes that one yes for you to like totally crush it and like feel like your confidence is coming back to light again.
So when you're teaching women to stop obsessing over the scale, you're essentially asking them to redefine what their success looks like because it's been so drilled into women that weight matters and the number on the scale matters and all of that. How did you redefine what success looks like in your business beyond just the revenue or the follower count on social media and things like that?
Yeah, I am like a service provider by nature. Like love to just serve people. And just hearing someone even say, like, I was able to shovel my whole driveway the other day and not feel like I wasn't able to do it, or feel like, I was experiencing all these aches and pains, or even like someone else being like, I hit a PR in the gym the other day. Like I started lifting, with a 45-pound barbell and now I'm up to, a 200-pound deadlift. Like that to me is so incredible. And I think it's just so cool that we get to focus on what our bodies are capable of versus just solely what they look like. And now I'm not naive. I know we're all a little bit vain and we want to look and also feel good. But I feel like you can look good and not feel good.
Mhm.
So I think that's why I really just want to put the emphasis on like, how can you show up as the most capable, confident version of yourself? Because what we do in the gym translates directly to the things that we go through in real life. And I always say, like, when you're working through adversity or when you're working through resistance, pun intended, again, it just prepares you for those difficult situations that you're going to approach in real life. Like grinding through a difficult back squat can also, help you get through a stressful situation at work. Right? They're so interchangeable. Um, yeah. And I think it's just a beautiful thing to be able to experience that.
Yeah. And not to mention the community that you've built. I think that's also something really incredible is like you have your one-on-one clients, but then you also have this beautiful community that you've brought together.
Mhm.
And like it's something that everybody looks forward to. Like it's a group program, but it's a small group program and it's very like community focused. And yeah, I think you just do an excellent job at kind of pulling in those right people for that too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like our community is incredible. And I think also, too, just with the energy that I put out, I think that's the energy that I also attract.
Hmm.
So, like, no wonder it's filled with great humans. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But no, I know. I love it. And I think as women, we're pitted against each other way too much. And there's all this comparison and judgment happening. And when you come to that session, it's like, nobody's judgmental. Everyone is supportive. Everyone's cheering each other on. And it's just such a cool thing to be a part of and also witness. Like I'm like a proud
Hmm.
mom when I get to watch you guys. Like it's so cool to me. And I just love that everyone wants to help each other out. And like that's the type of community and energy that I want to cultivate and bring to this space.
And I
Yeah.
feel like, again, too, that's stuff that people take home with them. So
Hmm.
they take that from your community, they bring that out into their community, their workplace, and everything like that. So definitely, like, changes that happen in the gym affect the changes outside the gym as well.
Absolutely. And I'm really big on like creating relationships. Like I really do pride myself in like I know my clients' kids' names or like I know
Mhm.
their partners' names or like I know what they do for work. Like I really do love creating those relationships and just getting to know people on a deeper level. Like I've worked at other gyms and places within Brantford and it's just never felt like I've truly felt connected to the community. Like, yes, like I know their names and like we talk and it all just feels a little bit more surface level.
Mhm.
But I knew that when I wanted to start my own thing, I really wanted to be a little bit more intimate, a little bit more personal. And I really wanted people to feel like they had a deeper connection than just like coming in, doing a workout and going home. Like it's so much more than that.
Mhm. For
Yeah.
sure. So, high achieving women, I would say, is kind of like your target audience or
Hmm.
people that you attract.
Yeah.
They're often like perfectionists who have succeeded in the past by pushing themselves harder. And you teach sustainable practices and nervous system regulation in what you do as well. So,
Hmm.
how do you help someone who's kind of built their whole identity on this high achieving, I do it all, pushing through mentality to learn how to actually rest and recover, both in fitness and in life?
It's a challenge, and I'm speaking from my own experience because I'm literally my client avatar. So there's definitely a lot of like undoing or rewiring that we go through. And at first, it's going to feel really foreign. It's going to feel uncomfortable because like you're so used to operating from like that fight or flight or that like constant pressure, external validation, or the need to do more. And it's like sometimes actually less is more. That is what makes it more powerful and intentional. Sometimes when we're doing all of the things or we're doing too much, it's like we're actually getting lost in the sauce and we're not actually
Mm,
accomplishing anything, right?
mhm,
So it's like even with my clients that I work with in a one-to-one capacity, each month we set 1 to 3 goals or habits that they want to cultivate or create. And sometimes I get them being like, oh, but I want to do more. Like, this doesn't feel like enough. And I'm like, let's just start here. And if you're feeling like you're doing really well with this and you want to add more, we can always do that. I'd rather add more than take away, because that is more of a hit to the ego than
Mhm.
you feeling like, oh, I've got this. I feel accomplished and I want to add more. And then usually by the end of the month, they're like, I'm so glad we didn't add anything more. Like this was enough. And I feel like I've got a really great handle on this and I'm ready to try something else. And I'm like, okay, well, that's good. I'm glad that I'm glad that we came to that realization. But it definitely does, like I said, it takes some undoing because you're so used to those old thoughts, patterns, and behaviors. And I always like to ask, like, are those serving you? Do you
Mhm.
feel like you're making any progress with what you're currently doing? I'm sure you're hiring me because what you were doing is not serving you anymore. So sometimes we have to take a little bit of a different approach, which can be scary, but
Mhm.
also so worth it at the same time.
Yeah. And what would you say is like the most common limiting belief that a lot of your clients have, especially when it comes to starting strength training?
That they're not capable of doing what they want to do. Like I have so many clients who have, strength related goals this year of like, I want to deadlift 200 pounds, or I want to get an unassisted pull up, or I want to
Mhm.
be able to get off the floor without having any body aches and pains. And it's just this idea of like, oh, I can't do that. It's like, okay, well, you can't do that now, maybe to that capacity, but we're going to take the steps to eventually to get you there. So I'm a big proponent of like, let's meet you where you are now so you can get to where you want to be. And then by the end of it, like they're like, oh my God, I just did it. Like I just did it. Like, okay, what now? And I'm like, let's just relish in this for a second. Like, let's celebrate this. Cause let's just say this happened within a year of us working together. I'm like, this is a whole year of you putting forward this effort, you having a goal and sticking to it, even when times got hard and you thought maybe you couldn't reach that goal. It's like, you just crushed that. So let's friggin' celebrate. And I always try and do a good job of making sure that we're taking that time to celebrate. Because again, as high achieving, ambitious women, it's like, okay, I just hit that check, on to the next. It's like, no, no,
Mhm.
no. Like, let's celebrate this. Like, let's relish in this and let's keep doing it. Like, let's do it over and over and over again. And yeah, so I think just being able to work through those old patterns and meet you where you're at so you can get to where you want to go is the main takeaway here.
And I always appreciate, like, within the group, there's so many different levels
Mm,
that people are at.
yep.
And it never feels like, I look at the person across from me who's doing like 4 or 5 times what I'm doing for deadlift, but there's never that sense of competition.
No.
And like building that mindset around like you are doing what you are capable of, and that's amazing.
Mhm.
And not comparing yourself to the person across from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good motivator and also an example of like what is possible. Like you
Mhm.
said, it's not out of competition, it's out of like celebration and being like, okay, like this person just proved to me that this is possible. And there's proof that I could potentially do this as well if that's something that I want to achieve. So, yeah, I think it just shows what really is possible and the potential that you can reach.
So you also are certified in mindset coaching. So what kind of made you want to do that and like realize that the credentials from your education alone weren't enough to help you transform your clients?
Yeah, within my undergrad, I probably took a total of like 2 psychology courses, and they kind of were geared around fitness, but also talked about a lot of like the principles and the different approaches. Like it wasn't all just around fitness. So, actually, funny story. I got to that point in my business. It was probably in, I think, 2023, where I was crushing it. Things were going really well. I was probably making the most amount of money that I ever had. And I was so miserable, burnt out, and tired that I just wanted to burn the whole thing down and go work for someone else. So that's kind of what I did. And I literally kept like maybe a handful of my own clients and then started working for another online coach in the States. And actually, what led me to getting that certification was her saying, like, hey, I'm going to pay for you to do this. I'd love for us to incorporate this into, our coaching. And I was like, okay, great. So I took the course and it just taught me a lot about like how people think, the psychology behind creating new habits. Again, those self-limiting beliefs that we create within ourselves, and also how to acknowledge and understand where someone is and help them get to where they want to go, even just
Mm.
within the language that you use. So if I have a client like say something to me, I'll be like, okay, so what I'm hearing is, or it sounds like, kind of reiterating their own verbiage back to them and making sure that I really understand what they're saying and then provide them with the next steps that they can take to get to where they want to go. So yeah, it's not just about nutrition, workouts. Yeah, it's not just about those things. There's so much more that goes into it that is
Mhm.
going to have an impact or be a factor throughout your health and fitness journey. And like,
Mhm.
yeah, I can prescribe you macros and I can, give you a workout split, but if you're not working on managing your stress, if you're not hydrating yourself, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not touching grass every now and then, like that stuff isn't going to matter as much if you're not doing all of the extra things to help support yourself throughout this journey.
And it sounds very geared towards that long-term sustainable progress as well.
Yeah,
Like,
because I've done the quick fixes myself and they clearly don't work. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm in this for the long haul now. I guess I'm doing this for the rest of my life. Like, that's kind of what I want to instill. It's like, how can we make health and fitness a part of your life for the rest of your life? How can we make this fit into your life rather than, the other way around and it taking away from your life? Because I've been
Mhm.
at both ends. I was working out 5, 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, like it consumed my life. And then I didn't feel like I had any sort of enjoyment outside of that. And now it's like, okay, health and fitness fits into my life, but I still have those aspects of enjoyment and I still go out and do things that I really like to partake in. So it's not just all about that. We want to
Mhm.
be creating a lifestyle that is filled with so much purpose and enjoyment that it's not just all about your workouts or the food that you're eating.
Speaking of the food that you're eating, you are very much like anti-diet culture.
Hmm.
And again, it's an industry that's still very much about diet culture and that kind of thing. So
Hmm.
how do you kind of handle the pressure to sell what's trendy versus staying true to what you've learned works?
Yeah, again, social media can be a beast. But like I said, I've just gotten to a point where like if it doesn't feel authentic to me, I'm not going to promote it or I'm not going to lean into it. Like just because juice cleansing is the fad right now doesn't mean that I'm going to start juice cleansing. Like if that works for you, cool. Are you going to be able to carry it out for forever? Maybe, maybe not. Like my thing is like I think we should be trying to have a diet that is filled with whole foods 80% of the time.
Mhm.
Where it's not coming from a box, it's coming from, a root or it's coming from a singular form because we are fed so much processed garbage nowadays that it's like I think we've just gone away from eating food that is actually real and good for you and that's going to provide you with the nutrients that you need. I even remember back in the days of like the if it fits your macros. And it's
Mm.
like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
going to eat Pop Tarts because it fits my macros. And I'm like, oh my God, why did I do that? Or like the Quest bars in the freaking oven. And I'm like, this is so gross. Like,
Yeah.
why did I do that? But at the time, it was what was trending. And I was like, I'm never going to do that again just because it was the it thing. So yeah, I've really just tried to stay true to myself. And also, within my kinesiology background and what I did learn throughout my time in undergrad, we should be having a diet that is well rounded. Of course, if you have food sensitivities or things that don't make you feel good, okay, maybe don't consume them. Maybe
Mhm.
pull back on your consumption. But I think also, too, we have to be able to find that balance. Because again, if you're just going to the one end of the spectrum like I did, where I was only eating clean, I wasn't allowing myself any sort of treats, and I would bring my own Tupperware to, family get togethers because I didn't want to cheat on my diet. It's like, well, that's not sustainable. Right. And that's not enjoyable. Like bringing cold chicken and rice to a family gathering is not fun. Like I didn't enjoy it. So now it's like, okay, I know 80% of my diet I'm filling with whole foods that make me feel good. And if I want to have a sweet treat, here and there, I will. I also pick and choose my battles because some days, yeah, I'm like, I know that I can handle this today. Other days,
Mm.
maybe not. And that's okay. And it's okay to say no
Mhm.
if it doesn't serve you within that moment as well. So yeah, I think again, just staying true to myself. And I think for a lot of people too, figuring out what works best for you is the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So let's say that someone listening has never touched a weight in their life and they feel really intimidated by going into the gym. What's the first mental shift that you would encourage them to make before they think about doing programming or refining their form or anything like that?
Yeah, I would say their feelings are completely valid. That's totally natural. That's how I felt too when I first started going to the weight room. I think what you could start by doing is okay, one day just drive to the gym. Get to the gym. And if you get there, cool. That's a win. That's a win for that day, and that's okay. Maybe the next time, okay, maybe the next time you go inside. The next time you go inside, okay, that's another step. That's another win. And then maybe the next time, maybe you start on the treadmill because that's what feels comfortable for you, right? Maybe you start by walking on the treadmill for, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever feels comfortable. And then you leave. And then you continue to build off of that. Even for myself, I think we've bonded over this too. I started by watching YouTube videos and
Mhm.
just trying to figure it out on my own. Luckily, within my undergrad degree, we did get some exercise programming through our labs that we would do. So I did have a little bit of experience, but other than that, like I was YouTubing and watching and just kind of taking that in. And sometimes that's an okay place to start. If you finally get to a spot where you're like, okay, I feel like I need a little bit more, or I feel like I'm watching these videos, but I don't know if I'm doing them right. I feel unsure, or I'm scared of injuring myself. Okay, then maybe that's when you can look to explore working with a coach or joining a group program or downloading a free guide. I do have a free guide. I'll plug myself here. It's the Beginner's Guide to Strength Training, which is like a 21-page guide that has all of these resources and knowledge on how you can even just get started in a workout split, what workout splits look like, types of equipment. Like I really do break it all down within that guide. And it's completely free. Like honestly, I feel like I should be charging for it, but it's
I'll put it in the
completely
show
free.
notes. Go get it before she starts charging.
No, I will keep it free. But yeah, it's filled with so much good stuff. And like I said, if you just finally get to the point where you need a little bit more guidance and reassurance, and yeah, maybe you look to work with a coach or have someone show you.
Yeah. There's a meme on Instagram that comes up sometimes, and every single time I see it, I think of you. And it's the one where it's like, I think it's showing a girl in the weight section. It says, "Aren't you like intimidated walking into the weight section full of boys?" And then it's Daniel Craig strutting, and I don't know what movie it is, but it's like da 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 da, like,
Love it. Yep.
and it's like that kind of energy. I think is something that there needs to be more of. It's definitely improved
Mm-hmm.
over the years,
Yep.
but definitely that's a fun energy to walk into the gym with, and I think that's something that people should build more of for sure.
Absolutely. And again, just knowing that it's not going to happen overnight. It takes repetition, it takes practice, it takes getting uncomfortable. And yeah, you might look stupid, but like everyone looks stupid in the gym when, I still look stupid in the gym. Like I slap myself with bands all the time, like, and I've been doing this for a long time. So yeah, nobody is concerned with you as much as you are. So
Mhm.
just keeping that in mind that nobody cares. Most of the time, these muscle-headed men are staring at themselves and flexing on themselves. Like they don't care what you're doing. So honestly, yeah, just go in, do your thing. Like try, walk in, walk out if you need to. Like I would just say
Mhm.
take it day by day and ask for support if you need it as well.
Yeah. So, what is one strength training myth that absolutely drives you crazy,
Oh
especially when you
God.
hear it from other trainers?
There's so many. That's a great question. One that comes to mind is that like right now we're in okay, a lot of other different modalities of exercise are coming to light right now, like high rocks and Pilates and spin and all those things. Those things are great. And I never want to bash any sort of exercise that encourages people to go out and move their bodies and do something. However, just doing Pilates alone or just doing yoga alone is not enough, and it is not the equivalent to strength training. So strength training is when the muscle is overcoming some sort of resistance. So we need an external force or resistance on the muscle. So that's either with a band, dumbbell, a cable system. Yes, Pilates is great because it has its own benefits, balance, core control. However, we need to be doing something in addition to that. So when someone tells me like, oh, I didn't need to strength train, I just do yoga, I'm like, okay, that's great. You're definitely working on your balance and your flexibility, but we're not necessarily building muscle when we're doing yoga. I'm never going to tell someone to stop, but I'm like, can we add one day of strength training in there? Like, can we add it in addition to what you're already doing? So yeah, I've seen a lot of that come up lately, and yeah, it drives me nuts. Drives me nuts because I'm
Yeah.
like, strength training really is the gold standard when it comes to building and maintaining muscle mass. Um, and muscle mass is something that we need. I kind of refer to it as like our currency. It is like the most expensive piece of currency that we will own. And especially after we turn 30, our muscle mass decreases quite a substantial amount with each year. It's like, I think anywhere from like
Mm.
0.3 to 0.8% each year if you aren't placing some external force on the muscles. So like by the
Mm.
time you're 50, like you could be losing a lot of substantial muscle mass, which is going to help with your metabolism, keeping your strength and independence, balance, and all these things that you need to age gracefully. So yeah, I'm never going to tell someone that they can't do another form of movement, but I'm like, please, for the love of God, just add in one other day of strength training.
Because strength training also makes everyday stressors and like things that you're doing every day more manageable. Like it's the longevity of what you're building when you're doing strength training is like more than just being able to lift big weights.
Absolutely. Like for right now, my partner and I, we've been hauling drywall, we've been moving gym mats, we've been moving deliveries that have come to our space. And like these things aren't light. So I keep saying, like, if I didn't strength train, I would not be able to do this. And I'd just be like a shell of myself, being like, okay, honey, like I'm gonna be over here while you do that. It's like, no, like I now have the confidence in myself because I've spent so many years, moving my body and strength training that I can now do these other things that everyday life requires me to do. I always say, strength training does make those everyday activities just that much easier.
Carrying around kids and all the things.
Yep, all the things. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I feel like this is a really good discussion and there's so many good tidbits in there for people to learn from. So can you share like the best place for people to connect with you? And we'll make sure we put that guide in the what's it called? The
Show
show notes
notes.
as
There you
well.
go.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'm mainly on Instagram. That's my main point of contact. I spend most of my time on there. I love Instagram, and I've just, like, really honed into being on Instagram. So you can find me at The Strength Girl. Also my website, thestrengthgirl.com, which Evie helped me to create her lovely words and messaging. So thank gosh for her. And, yeah, those are the main spots you can find me. Obviously on Google, at The Strength Girl.
And before we go, can I ask you some rapid fire questions?
Sure.
Okay, just to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So, what's the first business investment that you made that was worth it?
Yeah, hiring a mentor for sure. I've had a couple of business mentors throughout this last decade, and I've learned something from each of them. I've learned how I want to do business, I've learned how I don't want to do business. And I think any investment that you make into yourself or into your business is not a bad investment. Even if
Mhm.
sometimes you haven't had the greatest experience, like I said, there's always some sort of lesson that you can take away from that.
Do you have a go-to beverage for the morning?
It's usually honestly just like this big glass of water with some electrolytes and squirt of lemon.
Nice.
Yeah. Yep.
What what is the best business advice you've heard and used?
Probably like feel the fear and just do it anyways.
Mhm.
I've heard that one a lot. I think we even talked about that one on our other podcast together. It was
Yep,
like,
I'll link
yeah,
that too.
anything that you start, anything that's new is gonna feel scary and foreign, but just do it anyways. And that's how
Mhm.
you build up that momentum and that confidence. And the more you do it, the less scary it becomes.
What is one exercise everyone should do more of?
That's a great question. I'd say more deadlifts, more hinges, more
Mm,
RDLs. We are a very anterior side of the body type of population. We do a
mhm,
lot of things at the front. Our backside tends to get a little lost or forgotten about. So yeah, I'd say more hinging because again, it just transfers over into a lot of the things that you do. You're picking up your kids, you're shoveling snow. It all requires like your glutes, your hamstrings, your low back. So yeah, let's
mhm.
give the backside some love.
You know I'm not impressed with that answer. You
I
know
know
I
you're
hate
not.
that.
You're like, frick. You're like my
No.
least favorite. Hey, they've gotten a
Okay.
lot better though.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks to the form refinement and everything, it's less painful now, so that's good.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I love this one personally. If your business was a lift, which one would it be and why?
Business was a lift. Honestly, probably an overhead press because it's the most challenging, but it's the most rewarding when you do it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
probably an overhead lift. It's not everyone's favorite, but you got to do it. And
Yeah.
yeah, when you do it, you just feel so impressed and proud of yourself. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Perfect. Do you have a dream collaboration, partnership, or like dream client for 2026?
That's a great question. Creation. Okay, so I do retail some protein bars, and they're called Daryl's bars. I've been eating these bars for like the last 5 years. I would love to be like an ambassador or get some sort of sponsorship. I think that would be incredible because I do their wholesale program, and they're a Canadian company. They're based out of Windsor, and their bars are just made with a lot of good whole food ingredients. Dream client? Yeah, honestly, anyone that is highly driven and motivated and wants to start becoming a better version of themselves physically, mentally, and emotionally. That's honestly like my dream client.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love it. Well,
Thank
thank you so much, Mia, for coming on and sharing all of your uplifting wisdom.
Pun intended.
Unintended. Had to fit one more in there. But yeah, thank you so much, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I want to take a quick moment just to thank you so much for joining me in this space, and just to encourage you that if there was anything that kind of sparked something for you, or that you felt like somebody that you know maybe needed to hear, please feel free to share the episode. And if you are excited to hear more, go ahead and subscribe and listen to more of the episodes. I'm so excited that you're here, and I can't wait to continue this journey with you.